What's up, everyone? Have you ever wanted to create Payload CMS relationship fields that could populate dynamically based on another field? This is simple to do using the Relationship Fields Filter Options option. In today's video, I'll be building a simple page. This page will have a field for us to choose a brand. That brand will populate a product field based on what's available in the brand. We'll take this a step further to show Payload's ability to handle many collections. We'll finish up by rendering specific data based on the relationship value of the product. If you want to follow along, there's a link to the repo in the description. Now, let's dive in. Let's get started by setting up the project. I've created a new Payload project using the create payload app CLI command. I'm using the blank template with a MongoDB for this example, but everything I cover will work in an existing project and with any database. The first thing we'll do is create our collections. So I know I want a brands collection, so I'm going to create a new file and call it brands.ts. And in this file, I'm going to import my type of collection config from payload, as well as the slug field. And then I'm going to export a constant called brands and assign it the collection config type with the slug of brands. And underneath our slug, we're going to use an admin option to use as title the name field. And then we can define our fields themselves. We'll need a slug field, which is going to use as slug the name field. And then we need to create that name field, which is just going to be a text field named name, and we're going to make this required. Then we need to register this in our payload config.ts. So we're just going to import our brands collection here. And to make life easier as we move on, we're going to generate our types. So I'll run payload generate types, and this will allow us to use our IDE's autocomplete to interact with our different collections, which we need to create another one. So we're going to create a new file, and that's going to be a products.ts file. And this is going to look pretty similar, where we're going to import our type collection config from payload, as well as our slug field. Then we're going to export a constant called products and assign the collection config. We'll need the slug of products. The admin uses title, name again. Then we'll have our slug field uses slug, name, and then our name, which will just be a text field, and we'll make that required as well. Below this, we're going to add a relationship field though. So I'm going to add a type of relationship. The relation to is going to be brands, and then the name of this field is going to be brand. Let's register this one now. So from brands, I'm going to go to products and then generate our types once more. And now we can put it all together in our pages collection. So I'm going to come over to our pages collection, which we need to create, which is going to be pages.ts. And then we're going to, again, import type collection config. We're going to get our slug field. Then we need to export our constant of pages, which will be of type collection config. Then we need our slug pages, the admin option of use as title, which is going to be our title. Then we need our fields, where we'll have our slug field. It expects title, so we're going to leave this off. Then we're going to have a title field, which will be a type of text, and it will be required. Then we're going to add our brand relationship, so we'll use a relationship field, which will have a relation to our brands collection with the name of brand. And then we're going to add another relationship field, which is going to be relation to products with the name of product instead of products. And now here's where the fun begins, because we're going to add an admin option here with the condition of the data and the sibling data, and we'll check that sibling brand has a value. So to break this down, this underscore is necessary because condition expects both data and sibling data. I'm looking for data from a field that is within the same level of my product relationship field here, and that's the brand field. We can see that these are both on the same level. They're not separated by a group or a named tab or anything like that. Then we're going to check the sibling data to see if brand has a value. I don't need to populate any of the information about the relationship. I just need to know if there's something in that field. This double exclamation point here just takes the value of sibling data.brand and converts it to a Boolean value. So that's what condition expects is true or false. And this will return true if there is a value in my brand field. Now we can use our filter options. So our filter options also takes sibling data, but I don't need to include anything else. I can just bring in the sibling data. And the type of this is going to be our filter options props. And so I need to import that. And you can check that your IDE has imported it correctly by checking the top of your file. But WebStorm does that for me. Then we're going to have this resolve to a where query. So we need to import that as well to make sure that we have our where type imported. So what this is saying is that filter options expects a query to your API, and we will return a query that allows our select options to be populated based on a relationship. So let's look into that now, where we don't need this brand here. We just need a constant of page data. And we'll set that equal to sibling data.page, and we'll say that this is a type of page. So the problem here is that I need to access my page type, and my page type isn't generated yet. So I'm going to comment that out, and then I'm going to come over to my config and add our pages TypeScript file here, and then generate our types. Now I can come back and add this back in and import our page type. So we'll import type page from our payload types. And then we can add that page type to our filter option props as well. So now the error we're getting is that these parentheses are not necessary here. And now all of our type errors go away, except for our where query because we've not satisfied its requirements quite yet. Now we can return a where query where we're going to check if brand equals our page data brand. Now let's generate all of our types again. Then we'll generate our import map for good measure and then run npm dev. And we'll see how all of this works together. So if I load up my admin panel, I'll need to log in using the user that I created when I made this project. And then I can check in my brands to make sure that I have some information in here. And I do still from practicing this video. I input some brand names. So we're looking at Martin, Taylor, and Gibson, which are guitar brands. Then we can look at products and see that we've got some products in here as well, including with those brands, Martin, Taylor, and Gibson. And then if I go over to my pages, I can create a new page. And when I click on the brand dropdown, I can see my 3 guitar brands. And if I choose Taylor, the product field will show up. And if I open this up, I can see the Taylor guitars here, only included in my product dropdown. If I change this over to Martin, my values change here. One nifty thing here is if I try to save this with a mix and match here, so this does not exist as a Taylor guitar. So if I hit save, my validation won't let it happen because this is not a valid option for the Taylor guitars. But if I come back in here and set the proper product, the validation error goes away. Before we cover how to include several collections in a relationship field, check to make sure you're subscribed to my channel so you never miss when I release more content about Payload CMS, Next.js, and other modern web dev technology. Tired of trying to keep up with all the news and updates across the technologies and companies you use? Consider signing up for my newsletter to get a weekly overview of all the dev news from across the internet. The link to that is in the description. Thank you for your support. Now, back to it. What we have so far works great if I only want instruments, but what if you want to include music software on your website? We wouldn't want to include computer software in the same collection as our physical products. The schema would get muddy and complicated to maintain. This means we should include another collection. So we'll create a new collection that will be called software.ts, and we'll import our type of collection config from payload as well as our slug field. We're going to export a constant called software, which will be a collection config. And we'll have the slug of software For admin, we'll use as title our name. Then we'll have our fields array, which will have our slug field, which needs the use as slug option for name. Then we need the name field, which will just be a text field with the name of name, which will be required. And then we'll have a type of relationship field with the relation to our brands with the name of brand. Then we can come over and register this collection with the software collection here. And then we can run payload generate types. Then we can go back to our pages collection and we can add to our relationship here both products and now software. So we can include not just a string to relation to, but an array of strings. And nothing else changes here, but we can generate our types and import map and look at this again. And when we load up our page, we can open up our brand and look at Antares and see that AutoTune Pro is a software that is built by Antares. Same with native instruments. I can see that we've got a reactor here, which is software. It's a synth software. But they also make physical products, which we can see here with their machine. What if we wanted to control what data Payload returns based on fields in the related collections? We can do that in our filter options, but we'll need to include more fields in our collections to enable this. Over in our products.ts file, we're going to add another field, which is going to be a type of number, and that's going to be name of stock. So this is if the physical product is in stock. We can do something similar over in our software configuration file, where below our slug field, we're going to include a field that's a checkbox, and it will have the name of is discontinued with the default value of false. So if we go over to our software, and we can see here that Reactor and Pro Tools say that it is not discontinued, but AutoTune Pro is discontinued by Antares. So we'll look at that here in a second. And then in our products, we see that all of our guitars, except for 3, are in stock because everything has a stock of at least 1. But the other 3 have a stock of 0, therefore they're out of stock. Now, if we come over to our pages, we can create a new page and look in Antares, and we'll see that AutoTune Pro still exists. And that's because we didn't set up our filter options. So let's go over to our pages configuration, and we're going to add to our filter options. So here we have our sibling data. Let's also get our relation to. What we'll do next is we'll keep our page data the same. Then we're going to, for the brand, we're going to set that equal to a where query that says it equals page data brand. If our relation to is equal to software, we can return our brand, and then is discontinued equals false. If relation to is products, we can return our brand as well as our stock if it's greater than 0. The where type always needs something returned, but I don't want this default value to be returned, so I'm just going to return an empty object. Now if I save this and try to select Antares, I don't see any options. For my Martin guitars, I only see 2 instead of the 3 that we started with, but for native instruments, I see both products and software because this product is in stock and this software is not discontinued. The last thing we'll want to look at here is conditionally rendering fields based on the relationship of the option we select. This is useful for times when the data in the working collection needs to be different depending on the category or product relationship. For example, software typically has system requirements, while physical products like guitars might list how many strings the instrument has. While we would store information like this in the actual document, I'll show what this looks like in the pages collection. Below our filter options here, but still within the fields, we're going to include a new group, which is going to be called software options. This is only going to be available on the condition that our sibling data, product, relation to is software. Now we need to add some fields. So I'll open up a fields array, and we'll have a type of number. So we'll have a number field with the name of it being price. Then we'll have the system requirements, just as an example, where we'll have a type of text area. And that text area will have the name of system requirements. And we'll make sure that our text area has at least 3 rows. And then finally, we'll have a type, which will be a select field with the name of type. And this is expecting an options array. And we need a label. So the first one will be a DAW or a DAW, which is something like Pro Tools. So we need a value and a label. Then we'll want a label for our synth, which is Reactor by Native Instruments. Then we need another label for our pitch correction, which is our Auto-Tune Pro from Antares. And this will be pitch correction. Then below this, we need one more group, which will be a type, again, of group with the name of instrument options. Then we'll have an admin option to check conditionally if our sibling data product relation to is equal to products. Then we need some fields, so we'll pass in a fields array. We'll have a number field, which will have the name of price again. And then this time we'll have another type field that's a select field. And we'll have some options for our instruments. The first will be a guitar. We'll have a bass, we'll have drums, and then our machine is an electronic instrument. So we want to be able to account for that as well. So we'll have electronic instrument, add the comma there, and then add a value with that being electronic instrument as well. Then lastly, we can add the number of strings. So we'll say that this is a number field with the name of strings. Then we can add the condition that this only shows up when our sibling data type is equal to guitar or bass, because our drums and our electronic instruments are not going to have strings. Now we can save this and take a look at what this does now. So if we're looking for guitars, we've got our Martin brand. We're going to pick up guitar, and our instrument options are going to pop up here. So we can set a price and we can set a type that this is a guitar. And then when we use guitar, we can say that this is a 7-string guitar, for example. But if we change Martin to Native Instruments, and we change our product to machine, instrument options remains, and we'll change this to electronic instrument, and strings goes away. But if we switch this to the software option, we can see that we have a price, system requirements, and then type, which this would be a synth. Now we have a page collection that accepts several relationships and renders dynamic information based on our inputs. We've conditionally rendered fields and relationship options based on fields within both the related document and the main working document. We've even changed what information our document collects based on the value of a field. You can use this method for things like product variants, car makes and models, technical specs, and more. Let me know what you build with this new information. I hope you found this video helpful. If you want more helpful information like this, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. My newsletter is also a great resource to pick up more helpful tips and tricks like this one. There's a link to subscribe to my newsletter as well as a way to support me on Patreon in the description. If you have questions or suggestions, I'd love to hear from you. Leave those in the comment section of this video. Until then, I'll see you in the next one. If you want to learn more about relationship fields, the video on the left is for you. Learn more about the group and other presentational fields in the video on the right.